Good morning. Please rise and sing our gathering hymn, Enter, Rejoice, and Come In. The words are in your order of service. Thank you. You may be seated. Good morning and welcome. My name is Chris Burns and I'll be serving as your worship associate this morning. Our minister is not speaking today. Our speaker today is Richard Macdonald, who many of you already know, member. Richard is a well-known member of the fellowship. This year he initiated a discussion group here at UUFSD focused on understanding the sacred texts underlying all of the earth's great religions. It meets on the third Saturday of each month if you feel like dropping in. Today's sermon focuses on the work of one particular Christian theologian, and you may be surprised at the result. We are the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of San Diego. What binds us together as a faith community is not a creed, but the power and sacredness of a covenant based on unconditional love. You can find more details at our website, uufsd.org. If you're visiting today for the first time, we would like to get to know you. If you're visiting and are comfortable with it, please stand, and I'll ask each of you to very briefly tell us your name and where you come from. An usher will bring you a microphone so that we can all hear, and people out there on Zoom and YouTube and all that stuff can hear you. So please wait for the microphone. So do we have some visitors that are willing to identify themselves?
Good morning. I'm Mary's Levinson. And I just moved here from Colorado Springs, Colorado. And I've been a UU since 1968. I have a daughter in Chicago who is an ordained UU minister. And right now she's working for the Parliament of Religion, who is having a conference in Chicago. I have two other kids, but they are not UU. I haven't quite figured out where they stand yet.
Thank you, Mattis. Welcome.
Good morning. I'm Jan Zaragoza. I'm here from San Diego.
Welcome, Jen. Good to have you here.
Oh, Eric.
The usher gets the best exercise.
Sorry, I'm making her run everywhere. Good morning, everybody. My name is Jacqueline. I originally am from Hollister, still a California girl. I have two older brothers, and I have three nephews. And I've been clean and sober for 2 years, and I'm very grateful to be here, and thank you all for coming.
Excellent, Jacqueline. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, I'm Eric Isaacson from La Jolla.
Hi, I'm Susan Weaver from La Jolla. Eric and I at one time were very active members at First UU of San Diego and have been active in the San Diego community as UU since 2004, about that time.
Well, welcome.
Glad you're
Welcome
here.
to our beautiful outdoor campus. Okay? Okay. We're an active congregation, and there are many activities every week. Please be sure to read the newsletter, the announcements in the order of service, and on our website. I have no additional announcements today, and that is almost upsetting. I've never had that before. I don't know. In a minute, we're going to sing our welcoming hymn, number 298. But first, please everyone stand in body or spirit and use a minute to say hello to those around you, with an especially warm welcome to our visitors and newcomers. Then stay standing for our welcoming hymn. I know there's never enough time. Please stay standing and join in singing hymn number 298, Wake Now My Senses.
Wake now my senses and hear the earth call. Feel the deep power of being in awe. Keep with the web of creation your vow, giving, receiving as love shows us how. Wake now my reason, reach out to the new. Join with each pilgrim who quests for the true. Honor the beauty and wisdom of time. Suffer thy limits and praise the sublime. Wake now thy passion, give heed to the cry. Voices of suffering fill the wide sky. Take as your neighbor both stranger and friend, praying and striving their hardship to end. Fill the conscience with justice thy guide. Join with all people whose rights are denied. Take not for granted a privileged place. God's love embraces the whole human race. Wake now my vision of ministry clear. Brighten my pathway with radiance here. Mingle my calling with all who will share. Work toward a plan
may be seated. Our call to worship is titled Out of Our Yearning by Susan Manker-Seal. We speak to the God, the goddess, the spirit of life, the eternal. We speak to the mysterious thread that connects us one to the other and to the universe. We speak to the deep wisdom at the center of our beings, and we embody the yearning of all people. We honor the legacy of the continuing presence of the Kumeyaay Nation here in San Diego County. May we treat this land as well as those who came before us did. May we be as one and live as one. Amen. The Unitarian Universalist Flaming Chalice represents our shared history, hope, and commitment to the principles of our faith that join us together. Those of you at home are now invited to join us in lighting a chalice or candle, holding it up to your camera so we can share our light together. Would you like to light the chalice? Major change in the chalice light, notice. It looks a lot nicer now. Thank you, Lisa. Beginning to feel like a Catholic. Please rise in body or spirit and join in singing our centering hymn, The Spirit of Life, followed by reciting our covenant. The words to both are in your order of service. Please join me in reciting the covenant. May love be the spirit of this congregation. May the quest for truth be its sacrament and service be its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, and to help one another in fellowship. This is our covenant. You may be seated.
Good morning. My name is Susan Hom, and I'm serving as your volunteer religious education committee chair. And today we are going to be celebrating some youth, young adults in our midst who have recently graduated from high school and will be going on with their venture into adulthood. And so I welcome you to the UUFSD Bridging. The bridging ceremony celebrates a transition of our youth from high school experience into young adulthood. It is a time of tremendous change and stress for youth. It is a time when they may enter higher education, take a gap year, enter a career, or possibly new families. Some will leave our local church community to follow those paths. The bridging ceremony is a rite of passage that welcomes these bright and energetic people into the rewards and responsibilities of adult life. The bridge has two sides. One is childhood and adolescence, where they have become leaders and role models for their younger friends. The other side is a scary and vast frontier of the unknown, full of boundless opportunities and lots of new challenges. May the young adults who cross this bridge serve as touchstones and examples of braving this new frontier. And may all the adult members of this church community remember to embody the heart of our religious education teachings, that we are a community of the open mind, the loving heart, and the helping hands. I'd like to invite some folks on stage at the moment. I would like to invite Bennett to come up front with his parents who represent the young youth. Oh, and yes, and Lucas as well. Great. And if you wouldn't mind standing over here by the piano, that would be great. I'd like to invite young adults in our community who would like to come down and stand on the other side of the virtual bridge here. Guthrie. Max, would you be willing to come forward? Anthony and Daisy, would you be willing to come forward? I appreciate it. If you would stand over on this side. Thank you. Welcome. And Lynn, would you come forward with the roses? You can just stand beside me. Wonderful, thank you. And as I call your names, I would like you to come up and stand on the side with Lucas and Bennett. That would be great. Sarah Severinghouse. She has participated in RE classes almost from birth, from the nursery to the Chalice Children through Coming of Age and OWL and a high school youth group. She has attended many camps at Beneville Pines, and Sarah graduated this spring, and you will be attending Reed College in Portland, Oregon, and you leave this week? 2 weeks. In 2 weeks. Wonderful. Alex Severinghouse. Alex also participated in RE classes almost from birth, from the nursery to the Chalice Children, Coming of Age, and OWL, high school youth group, and has attended many camps at Beneville Pines as well. Alex graduated from San Diego Academy this spring, and you will be attending USC, and you leave probably in the week or two as well. Great. And tell me what you're going to study. Engineering, and you? Physics. Wonderful. Great. Rennie Hom. Rennie has also participated in RE classes almost from birth. These guys were all born within about a month of each other. From the nursery to Chalice Children, through Coming of Age, OWL, and the high school youth group. Rennie has attended many camps at DeBenneville Pines, including just getting back a week ago from the final high school camp. Rennie began their college studies earlier this summer at Palomar College in San Marcos and hopes to build a career as a doctor. And they would love to live in San Diego with their girlfriend and 2 hairless cats. There is a insert in your order of service with a responsive reading, and we're going to start that now. And at the end of the reading, if you would take a rose and pass over, or I'll cue you on the rose. Today we honor the youth among us who are stepping beyond and away and toward. Today we share in your journey and encourage your discovery. Lucas and Bennett, this is your line. Here. Young adults. Bridgers. Congregation, we open our arms to welcome you into adulthood. Our minds prepared to mentor and learn from you. Our hearts prepared to share this life journey together. Today you cross this bridge. Go now and explore with wonder. We will support and nurture you. You are the future. Those bridging receive the blessing of the congregation and a rose with thorns. In contrast to the budding thornless rose given to a young child who is dedicated in the church, the rose with thorns symbolizes both one's budding potential and resilience. Emergent young adults are no longer protected from the world by their parents. Yet they remain a part of a rich community of faith dedicated to holding them all the years of their lives. Sarah, will you take a rose and cross to the side of the young adults? Alex, will you take a rose and cross to the side of the young adults? Rennie, take a rose. And now, as is our tradition, we invite you to rise as you are comfortable and join in the song and motions for The Circle Game by Joni Mitchell. Words are on the opposite side of the insert.
Frozen streams. when you're older must appease them, and promises of some days make their dreams. And the seasons, they go round and round, and the painted ponies go up and down. We're captive on the carousel of time. We can't return, we can only look behind from where we came and go round and round and round the circle again. 16 springs, 16 summers gone now. Car wheels turn to car wheels through the town, and they tell him, take your time, it won't be long now, till you drag your feet too slow, the circles down. And the seasons, they go round and round, and the painted ponies go up and down. We're captive on the carousel of time. We can't return, we can only look behind from where we came and go round and round and round in the circle again. So the years spin by, and now the boy is 20. Though his dreams have lost some grandeur coming true, there'll be new dreams, maybe better dreams and plenty, before the last revolving year is through. And the seasons, they go round and round, and the painted ponies go up and down. We're captive on the carousel of time. We can't return, we can only look behind from where we came and go round and round and round in the circle again. And go round and round and round in the circle again. Thank you, everyone. Bridgers, you are celebrated with much rejoicing. Thank you. We invite you all to stop by the bridging table after the service on the patio and write some well wishes for our new young adults in their memory books and share a cookie. Thank you. You all may be seated.
Can I be seated too? I'm getting dizzy.
If the children want to follow me to the patio, I've got a little activity for you.
This is a time to share our joys and sorrows. If you wish to let us know something that has moved you deeply and you here at the fellowship, in a moment you may either come to the front or speak from your seat, raising your hand for a microphone. If you're at home, you can write your joy or sorrow in the chat, and Joe will read them at the end. Let's honor this time to share our personal experiences rather than to give announcements. If you prefer to express your joy or sorrow silently, you may drop a stone into the bowl at the side of the chancel now or after the service. Now, please come forward to speak or raise your hand to have a microphone brought to you.
If my microphone, okay. I'm Lisa. Today is my 18th wedding anniversary. And Lynn Talley played at our wedding. We were married at First Church with the Reverend Jim Grant presiding, and Alex and Sarah were little tiny babies in little carriers at the time of our wedding. So we've all come a long way.
No one else? I would just like to say that for those of us that made the service yesterday, the memorial, it was beautifully done and very, very good memorial to Ed. Bert, not Bert. Are there any chat mode joys and sorrows? No? Okay, thank you. I would like to acknowledge all those spoken and unspoken joys and concerns we hold in our hearts. May our joys be amplified and our sorrows diminished by sharing with each other. Our congregation is entirely self-governed by democratic process. One of the privileges of our free church tradition is to provide all of the financial support for our many ministries from among ourselves. Generosity, therefore, is one of the spiritual values we recognize as central to our personal and our institutional well-being. You are now invited to participate in the blessing of giving as the ushers come among you to accept the gifts of the congregation. Whether you're here or participating via the internet, you can make an offering using Breeze. The connection is on our website, uufsd.org. Thank you. That was gorgeous. Thank you. We now have special music.
Blackbird singing in the dead of night. Take those broken wings and learn to fly. All your life, you're only waiting for the moment to arise. Blackbird singing in the dead of night. Take those sunken eyes and learn to see. All your life, you were only waiting for the moment to be free. Blackbird fly, blackbird fly, into the light of the dark black night. Blackbird fly, blackbird fly, into the light of the dark black night. Blackbird singing in the dead of night. Take these broken wings and learn to fly all your life. You were only waiting for this moment to arise. You were only waiting for this moment to arise. You were only waiting for this moment to arise.
Let us enter a time of silence for meditation, reflection, or prayer by first singing the chant, Meditation on Breathing. The time of silence will end with the sound of a bell. Breathe in, I breathe in peace, and I breathe out. I breathe out love, and I breathe in. I breathe in peace, and I breathe out. I breathe out love. Our reading today is from the words of the Reverend F. Forrest Church, minister of All Souls Church in New York City. This power which I cannot explain or know or name, I call God. God is not God's name. God is my name for the mystery that looms within and arches beyond the limits of my being. Life force, spirit of life, ground of being, these too are names for the unnameable, which I am now content to call my God.
Thank you, Chris, and welcome everyone. When I retired almost 20 years ago, I had a plan. And the plan was to follow in the footsteps of David Denby, who was a writer who, at the age of 48, went back to school, to undergraduate at Columbia University to study the classics, a study he'd never done in his earlier days. And so I started out where he started. I picked up the book by Plato called Allegory on a Cave. Wow, it didn't go so well. That was a tough read. I didn't get it. And I said, okay, I'm not going to do that. I missed his lesson. His lesson was really, don't do what I did, but just read my book and learn from me. Don't try to take it on yourself. So then I moved to Plan B, to join UUFSD. So in this talk today, I'm going to talk about 3 books by 3 different people from 3 different religions. One is Judaism, one is Protestant Christianity, which is the Paul Tillich one, and then one from Unitarian Universalist. And I'm going to specifically talk about just 2 aspects of these books, and one is the nature of God, and the other is the nature of religious path or the spiritual path. I'm reminded of a story of the congregant who went to their pastor and said, "Reverend, I have to tell you, I have rejected God." And the Reverend thought a moment and said, "Tell me more about this God you have rejected. I might want to reject him too." So I thought, for those of you who end up in that embarrassing situation where your minister says that to you, you might need some help. And so I'm going to provide you with a definition of God, which you can edit as you feel right for your God and use it as you need it. And I had it handed down to me by my mentor, the AI program ChatGPT. So here it is. Christianity is based on the belief in one God who is eternal, omnipotent, omniscient, and benevolent. According to Christian belief, God is 3 persons in one, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. God is seen as the creator of the universe and the source of all life and goodness. So take that and use it as you will. But it's not the only definition of God. But I think if you're rejecting God, the lesson is figure out which one you're rejecting. I'm going to provide you some other answers for what God is in these 3 people I'm going to talk about. So the first one is Rabbi Harold Kushner, who is from, obviously, the Judaism religion. And remember, they invented the Western idea of God. So if anyone is going to defend God, it should be him. He says in his book, Who Needs God?, that the important point is not the existence or non-existence of God, but it's the point at which it's the impact that God has in our lives. So if you don't, and I'm going to read you the passage which he says that, if you don't want to think about God in this passage, then just think about that imaginary friend you had in childhood and put that into this place of God. So he says, when people pray to God, they gain the reassurance that they are not alone. God is with them in their fear and uncertainty. If we live every moment of our lives in the secular world, we will come to define success and happiness in secular terms. The world will be a battlefield, dividing us into winners and losers. But if we learn the art of entering into God's presence, we'll learn to see success and happiness in more human terms. That, in a nutshell, is why God matters. Now, moving on to Tillich, the main topic of my sermon. It's an anthology. I took the information about Tillich from an anthology which grabbed my attention because it was edited by a UU minister, the same F. Forest Church that Chris read you from. And it's called Paul Tillich Through a UU Lens. So Tillich himself was very liberal. He belonged to a couple of movements back in the 30s and 40s and 50s called religious socialism and also democratic socialism. So I think he would have been very comfortable with the UU religion if he were around today. His first thing he did was to define religion. And Tillich said that religion means being passionately asking the question of the meaning of our existence and being willing to receive answers even if the answers hurt. It does not require a belief in any gods. In this way, people can be religious but not part of any historical religion. Although Unitarian and Universalisms came out of Christianity, I consider UUism today to stand in contrast to any historical religion, which I will explain later. The second thing he wanted to talk about was his idea of God. And he looked around, read the Old Testament and thought about those people and thought about the way they were using God. It was, they used them to help them plant their crops, do their ceremonies, pass judgment, decide how to live their lives. That God was was involved in everything that they did. And so he said, what if you take God out of that and look at all the rest of it and think about it in a different way? And he came up with the idea of the ultimate concern. So God was their ultimate concern, and that goes through a lot of his writings. God was the purpose behind everything. God became the root of the ultimate concern, and faith became the belief that your ultimate concern could come true. I'm guessing you haven't heard the words ultimate concern before, nor thought about that idea in your life. The heroes of our culture, the people who you will recognize, I'm going to say a few in a minute, people like Martin Luther King, Mother Teresa, Albert Schweitzer, they're famous because they had a single ultimate concern in their life that they worked on. The rest of us, most of us, have smaller concerns, many of them, like the farmers in the Old Testament. And we need to wrap them together to become our ultimate concern. Concerns like social justice, racial equity, climate change, gun violence prevention, and many of the other concerns that keep this congregation running, like generosity, groundskeeping, dream builders, fun and fellowship, stewardship, finance, worship, music, the list goes on. These are all small concerns that many of us have. We need to put that together into a package, wrap it up, put a bow on it, and present this package, which will become a gift to our spiritual path. Now, another thought from Tillich is that religion relates to the loss of religion in society. And he says that the loss of religion equates to the loss of depth in our life. So religion to him is depth. And if you don't have that, you're living on the surface. We are speeding ahead, engaged in meaningless activities without seriously asking the hard questions. And here's what he says in a quote. And it's about why have people lost religion? Here's the answer, according to Tillich. Historical religion itself is to blame. It lost the battle when it defended its great symbols, not as symbols, but as literal stories. These symbols have then lost their power and meaning and become easy prey to physical, biological, and historical attack. Nothing is more symptomatic of the failure of historical religion than the continuing argument about the existence or non-existence of God. So on this theme, we had a talk at our sacred text discussion group a couple of weeks ago, and we asked the question, where is the depth that we find in the Unitarian Universalist religion? Where is it? What can we point to? The first thing that came out, of course, was obvious. It's our principles and our strong values. But as we talked more, it turned out that most people felt that their deepest, most sacred, most spiritual beliefs involved non-UU practices. Things like Judaism, Islam, Christianity, paganism, pantheism, Buddhism. These were all mentioned as things that they got inspiration and depth from. Sometimes it's other philosophical beliefs or practices, like humanism, transcendentalism, rationalism, mindfulness, veganism, sustainability, organic gardening. These are all things that give depth in our life. And they're not specifically UU, although they are supported by the UU faith. These are all examples of what's called individual spiritual journeys. And these individual journeys are encouraged, as I said, by UU. In fact, as UUs, we are expected to find our own spiritual path. No one's going to give it to us. This aspect of our religion is sometimes called religious pluralism. So, since we are a diverse collection of individuals, each on their own spiritual path, does that mean that everyone is welcome here? No, actually, not everyone is welcome. Not unless they share our values. Our values represent a self-selection mechanism that is important because these values hold all of us together like glue with our diverse spiritual paths. The new Article 2 rewrite makes this point explicit for the first time. Here's a quote from the inclusion section of the Article 2 rewrite. We strive to truly welcome all persons, and here's the kicker, who share our values. Why do we need to emphasize these values? There's a supporting document that gives some information. It's called Refreshing Our UU Values, also from the Article 2 rewrite. We UUs are like valued people. We share values. We won't necessarily agree on beliefs, philosophy, or theology. So I want to just take a quick aside about these values. These are not, that I'm talking about, these are not the typical moral values of most religions. It's not the 10 Commandments. Thou shalt do this, thou shalt not do that, thou shalt not do that. Not at all. Instead, they are the values of a liberal religious faith. I call them social values or humanitarian values. And they're projected outward more than inward. In newsprint and articles, they're often called cultural positions. As I said, they're projected outward, things like to values like world peace, civil rights, human rights. This requirement for shared values, along with individual spiritual journeys, seems to me to put UUism in complete contrast to all other historically based religions. If anyone asks what makes UU different, it has to be this has to be the answer. Other religions have a shared spiritual journey, which we call dogma, whereas we have shared social values, which is also a form of dogma. I have an allegory for you with a nod to Plato. So there's a cart full of a bunch of people, very diverse, pulled by a single horse. And the people in the cart represent diversity, and the horse pulls the people along the path of their ultimate concern. The horse's name is dogma. For most organized religions, dogma pulls them along their shared spiritual journey. For us, dogma pulls us toward our shared social values. The UU cart is filled with people in the UU religion, filled with people each with their own spiritual path. That's the diversity. The cart of the organized religions is people with a much more diverse set, not spiritual path, but of cultural positions. The last book I want to talk about was written by our very own Reverend Tom Owentoll. The title is Wrestling with God. But to me, the book's really about finding your own individual spiritual path within the UU faith. As will become clear in the moment, the book reinforces the idea that the role of the UU clergy is not to guide us on any particular spiritual path, but rather to remind us constantly of our shared values. That's what we see in services on Sunday, if you think about it. But the very best UU ministers can also help us wrestle with God to find our own individual spiritual path. Okay. So what I said was, going back to the clergy, constantly remind us of our shared values, but the best ministers can also help us wrestle with God on our own individual path. Owentoll never actually defines God he's wrestling with. Instead, he comes at the problem by defining the three different states of being in relation to God: atheist, agnostic, and theist. And he talks about how useful it is to jump between these states, as in a wrestling match, if not with God, well, maybe with a fellow congregant. First, you try the atheist hold, then the theist hold, then maybe a humanist hold, and it's a real wrestling match. And he goes through all of these holds and basically gives you the pros and cons of each one. How can UU ministers help us wrestle with God? Owentoll quotes a UU minister who explains how she does it in practice. If the congregant comes to me as a humanist, then I enter the dialogue as a theist. And if they are a theist, I'm a card-carrying humanist. I'm honorably ambidextrous. The goal is to rattle comfort cages, to raise the questions with which parishioners must continually wrestle. A lot of what I've gotten in depth of UU here has been in the sacred text group that we've been running for about a year, and I want to put in a plug for it. It's led me along a path, if not the path of the great books that I once imagined, along a path that I'm enjoying probably even more, an individual journey, spiritual journey, that includes but does not end with this sermon. So thank you for taking the time to listen, and I invite you to wrestle with me in the core area after the service. So be it, namaste, and blessed be. Please rise in body or spirit and sing hymn number 146, Soon the Day Will Arrive.
Soon the day will arrive when we will be together, and no longer will we live in fear. And the children will smile without wondering whether on that day thunder clouds will appear. Wait and see what a world there can be if we share, if we care, you and me. Wait and see what a world there can be if we share, if we care, you and me. Some have dreamed, some have died to make a bright tomorrow, and our vision remains in our hearts. Now the torch must be passed with new hope, not in sorrow, and a promise to make a new start. Wait and see what a world there can be if we share, if we care, you and me. Wait and see what a world there can be if we share, if we care, you and me.
Please join me in extinguishing the chalice. The words are in your order of service. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Please be seated. May we know that we are kin with every soul, every star, every stone and leaf of grass. Blessed be. Please stay and listen to the postlude.